If she's
This
doing
is
this,
the key
whatever this
area we
is,
need to
you
look
don't
at
have to wonder
moving
anymore.
forward.
You already have her, not
Mhm.
because you tricked her,
Absolutely.
not
I
because you
agree
manipulated her with
completely.
tricks or lines, but because you've unlocked a hidden signal that taps into the deepest reservoir of female biology. The paradox is brutal in its simplicity. Most men today are doing everything right, following the advice of experts, reading the books, upgrading their style, polishing their communication, yet they fail to hold a woman's attention. Why? Because they are missing the secret code, the subtle biological rhythm that tells her, without words, that you matter, that you are different, that you are worth her limited and precious resource, emotional investment. Let's be clear. Attraction is not a polite dance of polite people exchanging polite compliments. It's a raw, ruthless instinct sculpted over millions of years, a biological fact written deep into the female brain. Evolution has designed women to be gatekeepers of life, choosing partners not just for who they seem on the surface, but for who their dopamine systems and oxytocin networks crave in the darkness. And here is where the tragedy lies. Most men confuse nice behavior with dominance, stability with excitement, and availability with value. They try to win her by being good. They show up, show care, show consistency. All admirable traits, no doubt. But the female brain is wired to detect a different kind of signal. One that announces, I am the one who will challenge you, who will invoke your desire, who will make your heart race in ways you didn't expect. Science tells us that attraction is deeply chemical. The cascading waves of neuropeptides, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and the primal surge of testosterone interact with a woman's limbic system, orchestrating feelings of trust, excitement, safety, and yes, that magnetic pull toward a man who stands apart. But here's the catch. Female attraction thrives on paradox. It desires security without dullness, familiarity without predictability, warmth without weakness. Most men present only one side of that coin, failing to integrate the shadow behind the light. They offer comfort but not challenge. They offer presence but not absence. And it is this absence, this carefully calibrated distance and unpredictability, that ignites her focus, her obsession, her genuine interest. You see, the female brain evolved to scan for variability, not consistency. This is not some manipulative ploy. It is ancient survival strategy. A woman's attraction systems are designed to prize genetic diversity and resilience. Traits signaled not merely by surface-level traits but by behavior that hints at hidden depths. When a man is always accessible, always agreeable, always predictable, her subconscious nervous system perceives him as ordinary, safe, but not rare. Scarcity breeds desire. The secret is that the moment you become too available, too easy to read, you lose your advantage. The moment she senses she can have you anytime, her dopamine spikes start to wane, her pulse slows, and the emotional stakes drop sharply. Look closely at the intimate dance between male and female attraction. It's not a linear path where good behavior is met with guaranteed interest. Instead, it is a chaotic interplay, a push and pull dictated by a complex neurological algorithm encoded in the female brainstem and cortex. This algorithm looks for signals of high status combined with the ability to evoke emotional intensity. It craves men who are not merely providers, but provocateurs, not just partners, but enigmas. This biological preference is why so many men who do everything right end up lost, confused, frustrated at the cold shoulder or fading flame. They mistake kindness for strength, attention for exclusivity, interest for emotional bond. What if the moment she does this, a glance, a touch, a shift in her tone, a subtle change in body language, you could instantly read it as a biological trigger? That signal, unnoticed by most, is communicating one undeniable truth. You are no longer just another face in the crowd. You have crossed a threshold. You've penetrated the guarded realm of her unconscious desire, the realm where action beats words, where feeling eclipses logic, But here's the shadow that most men never anticipate. This signal, once seen, comes burdened with responsibility and risk. It means the dance is no longer a safe game. It means that to keep her interest, you must rise beyond the pedestrian and step into a zone charged with tension and vulnerability. The stakes are higher. The rules rewrite themselves. And so the dark paradox remains. To win her, you must first make her fear losing you, not through control, but through genuine scarcity of your presence. To master her interest requires you to understand the invisible powers pulsing beneath her skin, shaped by time and biology, that reject predictability and crave mystery. This is the edge where most men falter because it demands strength few possess, the courage to be complex, to be unpredictable, to be real, beyond the comfortable scripts of modern dating advice. If you miss this, if you fail to read the secret embedded in her small, almost imperceptible actions, you remain just another contender, easily replaced, forgotten within moments. But if you see it, the signal that says you've moved beyond surface attraction, you gain a psychological advantage that few men ever claim. You step into a realm where attraction is no longer a question of trying harder, but of understanding better, of mastering not just what she wants to hear, but what her biology needs to feel. And that shift in perception changes everything. It pulls back the curtain from the seductive theater of female desire and reveals the forces at play beneath, raw, mysterious, unforgiving. This secret, hidden in plain sight, is not just a cue, it is a doorway. Once you notice it, you realize that attraction is not a static prize to be won. It is a game of shadows and light, of presence and absence, of signals sent and signals caught, but always controlled by forces beyond conscious thought. The question is, are you ready to see it? To hold it? To wield it? Because from the moment she gives you that signal, your path forks. You can either rise to the challenge or fade into the background like so many before you. And trust this, she is already watching.
Look, the potential.
The moment you recognize her signal, the game no longer follows the rules you thought you knew. Her glance, the briefest flicker that escapes conscious notice, has already rewritten your role. It's no longer about what you say, but how you exist in the space between silence and sound, between light and shadow. This signal is a whisper from the primordial depths of her nervous system, a silent echo of millennia-old codes, telling you that you inhabit her mind in a different way. You have shifted from background noise to a presence that stirs something both ancient and potent. But with that shift comes a truth few men truly grasp. The female brain does not respond to safety alone. It responds to the tension born of contrast. It craves the push and pull of unpredictability, the uneven rhythms that tease her neurons into heightened awareness. Her attraction is driven not by the certainty of comfort, but by the intoxicating uncertainty of challenge. This is the dark heartbeat beneath the surface of modern dating, the shadow that good manners and steady reliability seldom touch. There's a primal mechanism at play, ancient as the dawn of social mammals, that craves the dual sensation of security and risk. The neurochemical alchemy that fuels desire, dopamine surges, oxytocin release, adrenaline spikes, thrives on contrast. Dopamine, the harbinger of anticipation, spikes when outcomes are unpredictable, when the familiar is punctuated by mystery. Oxytocin, the neuropeptide of bonding, is not a simple function of proximity but of emotional intensity. It flourishes when moments are felt deeply and irregularly, when trust is earned in a balance of approach and retreat. If you are always present, always consistent, you risk becoming a soothing background hum, a signal too predictable to spark that internal cascade of desire. Her brain, wired to seek resilience and opportunity, begins to tag predictability as dullness, a scent of, been there, done that. Evolution favored those signals that indicated a mate could not only provide but provoke. Who could ignite the chemical waves that make the experience of attraction feel like a secret shared between two nervous systems dancing on the edge of discovery? The fact that most men miss this is predictable in itself. Society teaches men to be earnest and available, to communicate clearly and shy away from ambiguity. Yet female attraction thrives in ambiguity. It is the fertile ground where interest grows, where the mind spins webs of possibility. Look closer at the underlying biology. The female brain's limbic system, its emotional command center, seeks out sensory input that delivers oscillations in emotional states. The interplay of approach and avoidance behaviors, uncertainty and reassurance, vulnerability and strength, creates a neurochemical symphony. Testosterone in men fuels dominance and the willingness to risk rejection, while female dopamine circuits reward unpredictability and challenge because these patterns historically signaled a partner resilient enough to navigate danger and change. Emotional intensity carves memory pathways much deeper than routine kindness. This explains why some men, despite their steady charm and polished demeanor, fail to lock in passion, while others, who walk the edge of unpredictability and emotional complexity, ignite fires that burn long after their presence fades. But what does this mean for the man who has glimpsed this forbidden dance? It means you must embody paradox, not as an abstract idea but as a lived reality. You are neither fortress nor fugitive. You are at once steady and elusive, available and withdrawn, nurturing and challenging. This balance sends a signal far louder than words. It tells her subconscious, here stands a man who refuses to be pigeonholed. A man whose value cannot be measured by simple gestures or predictable routines. In her mind, that man is no longer just a partner. He becomes a puzzle, an enigma, someone worth investing scarce emotional energy in. The scarcity of your presence becomes a catalyst for desire, not a tool of manipulation but a reflection of your own internal integrity. Your unwillingness to sacrifice complexity for approval. In practical terms, this equilibrium shapes every interaction. The moments you hold back, whether by silence, withholding judgment, or embracing your own inner tension, do more than create mystery. They invite her to lean in, to fill the gaps with her own emotional energy, to become a participant in your unfolding story. It is the subtle dance of withdrawal and engagement that propels attraction beyond surface interest into realm of intensity. This dance is not rehearsed. It can't be. It requires a man willing to be exposed to his own shadows, to endure moments of vulnerability where control dissolves and the raw biological script writes itself anew. The emotional paradox here is profound and often misunderstood. Women seek security, yet avoid the dull and predictable. They desire closeness, yet crave a partner who will make them work for it, who will inspire both trust and catharsis. The evolutionary impulse behind this is brutally honest. Passion and partnership are survival strategies woven into their neurology. A man who learns to live within this paradox commands an invisible advantage, a psychological territory where fewer can tread. He does not earn her interest by effort alone, but by becoming an unfolding mystery, a challenge that her biology recognizes as worthy of pursuit and potent enough to evoke desire. This invisible game runs beneath the veneer of social convention, behind polite conversation and scripted charm. To truly wield this insight, a man must cultivate a presence that balances proximity with distance, assurance with unpredictability, strength with emotional openness. This is a haunting terrain, where safety is not sacrificed but reshaped, where control loosens in favor of a deeper, more magnetic form of leadership. The leadership of a man who knows he is not a prize to be won but a force to be encountered. In learning this, you come face to face with a deeper question. Are you prepared to become the man who commands desire not by certainty but by the audacity to be unknown? Who holds his ground not through dominance alone, but through the fractal complexity of presence and absence? Because once the curtain lifts, once you glimpse the true architecture of her attraction, you realize that desire is never static. It is an ever-shifting horizon that beckons only those willing to journey into shadow as well as light. And in that journey lies not only attraction but something far more profound, the awakening of your own uncharted depths, mirrored in the delicate dance of her hidden desire. Once she sends that signal, so faint, so easily missed by those not attuned, it ripples beneath the surface, awakening something ancient inside her. It cracks the illusion of safety, flashes a warning and a promise braided into one. Here stands a man who is neither fully known nor fully tamed. The air between you thickens with unspoken possibility, and in that charged silence, her instincts peel back layers of reason to smell the raw current beneath.
Right now.
What she's really feeling in that moment is the suspension of certainty, an invitation to gamble on something unpredictable. It's the pulse of the unknown, and it strikes at the core of every evolved female desire. The need to balance the primal with the profound. Fierce independence with deep connection. This is where we cross from the familiar shores of everyday courting into the wild, dark waters of real attraction. Because the female brain, as much as it craves safety, simultaneously craves disruption. A necessary fracture in the mundane pattern that otherwise lulls her neurochemistry into complacency. Dopamine, the molecular herald of novelty and anticipation, surges when unpredictability is present. A man who offers only comfort and consistency triggers the steady drip of serotonin. Yes, but without the sharp dopamine spikes of challenge and uncertainty. Her pulse dims, the magnetic charge dissipates. She senses it even if she can't name it. He feels safe enough, but he lacks that primal spark that electrifies the nervous system. He is, quite simply, not rare enough. Behind the curtain of conscious thought lies a biological script billions of years in the making. The interplay of oxytocin and dopamine in her limbic circuitry does more than generate fleeting emotion. It scripts a map of attachment and desire that threads through moods, memories, even her sense of identity. Oxytocin, the molecule of bonding and trust, only solidifies its grip in the presence of dopamine's electric thrill. Without that flash of emotional unpredictability, a sudden departure in behavior, a subtle tension in presence, a momentary absence that mystifies and maddens, oxytocin's fidelity can't lock in. Her emotional compass spins, drawn to the man who embodies the paradox, the one who can hold her with both tenderness and tempest, constancy and chaos. This is no accident. The molecules themselves conspire to code a dance of push and pull, repetition and surprise, where desire feeds on the oscillation between closeness and distance. In real terms, this biological paradox transforms into the invisible currents running through every interaction. When a man steps too squarely into the light, offering up all he is with relentless availability, he unwittingly pulls her into a routine that numbs rather than ignites. He becomes a known variable in her equation, a predictable constant that the female brain is designed to discount. Her subconscious mind, wired by eons of survival to seek out signals of genetic resilience and emotional complexity, turns its gaze elsewhere. On the other hand, the man who skillfully crafts his presence as a flickering shadow, present but elusive, attentive but ever so slightly detached, holds her attention like a moth circling a flame. His scarcity becomes a signal of value, his unpredictability a testament to depth, his occasional withdrawal a vector of magnetism. She is drawn not to the safe harbor, but to the storm's eye, where danger and beauty intertwine. Think about the emotional landscape this creates. A woman caught in this dynamic feels herself pulled. She experiences heightened arousal, not just sexual, but cognitive and emotional. Her heartbeat synchronizes to the rhythm of the dance. Her thoughts loop back to him inexplicably. Her subconscious stitches moments into a tapestry of anticipation and longing. But here lies the double-edged truth. This dance requires the man to tolerate discomfort, to embrace the tension of not always being fully understood or accepted. It demands a boldness to be fragmented, to offer glimpses of a self that is more mystery than map. When he does this, he activates a primal dialogue, one spoken in body language, pheromones, and emotional tides rather than words alone. And she, wired to respond to these signals, unfurls in complexity and desire. This hidden architecture of attraction also explains why so many relationships falter under the weight of predictability. The fatal mistake is not in kindness or care. It is in the surrender to safety as the sole currency of emotional connection. When safety becomes the default and chaos the enemy, desire shrinks, passion dims, and familiarity breeds disinterest. What must be understood is that female psychology thrives on dualities: the security of trust paired with the adrenaline of uncertainty, the comfort of warmth contrasted by the electric charge of resistance. A man who masters this duality, as both sanctuary and enigma, occupies a psychological space few ever reach. He initiates a loop of craving that does not exhaust but intensifies, weaving together biology and vulnerability in a game of fierce attraction. Now consider the philosophical weight of this knowledge. Attraction is no quaint rite or social convention. It is a revelation into the evolutionary matrix that governs selection, connection, and survival. To decode these signals is to glimpse the inner sanctum of female desire. To appreciate that what seems capricious or contradictory is in fact a finely tuned biological gamble. It pulls away the comfortable veneer of contemporary dating illusions and exposes the raw calculus beneath. That women seek more than a partner, they seek an experience. An escape from the mundane. A brush with something alive and wild and dangerously real. The man who understands this does not merely chase affection or approval. He commands a presence that shapes her very perception of possibility. The question lingers in the depths of this revelation. Can one learn to inhabit this mystery without losing oneself? To stand both as sentinel and storm, known and unknowable, to wield scarcity and presence not as manipulation, but as extension of authentic self? There exists a threshold here, where psychology meets art, where biology intersects with personal courage. Crossing it is not a guarantee of conquest, but a gateway into a rarefied realm of human connection. A place where attraction ceases to be a puzzle and becomes a pulse. An emergent living force shaped by shadows and light dancing between two souls. And once you glimpse that force, the world of desire shifts beneath your feet, inviting you to step deeper into the paradox that is both challenge and salvation. The instant she offers that fragile, flickering signal, the game irrevocably alters. You are no longer a player attempting to win. You have become a keeper of a strange and volatile flame. This flame, delicate yet ferocious, embodies the deepest biological paradox: the simultaneous longing for connection and the exhilaration of uncertainty. It is here, poised on the razor's edge between desire and restraint, where the primal architecture of female attraction truly reveals itself. Understanding this invisible architecture means stepping beyond the veneer of attraction, beyond stereotype and cliché, and venturing into the realm where raw neurochemicals govern behavior as surely as gravity pulls the tide. Think about what happens inside her. The subtle choreography of neurons in the limbic labyrinth. The slow drip of oxytocin weaving a tapestry of trust. The sharp pulse of dopamine lighting up pathways of excitement. The quiet hum of serotonin settling her mood. These are not mere metaphorical forces. They are the physical heartbeats of attraction. Coded by survival instincts accrued across millennia. Her brain does not just seek you because of the way you look or the clever things you say. It hunts for a signal that whispers a promise so profound it defies rational articulation. That signal is a living tension, a blend of comfort and challenge, that draws her into a dance where vulnerability and intensity intermingle. This tension is not born from manipulation or calculated gamesmanship. It arises from a deeper biological truth that few men ever learn to honor. Female desire is wired not to be captured but to be engaged in an endless cycle of discovery and unpredictability. The moment you become comprehensible in every breath, every gesture, every predictable presence, you cease to be a mystery worth unraveling. You become a map she already knows by heart, A familiar terrain stripped of wonder. The instinctive drive that floods her brain when confronted with enigma, a nod to survival. A reflex against the mundane, begins to fade. What she craves is the unexpected. The subtle risk that sparks her adrenaline. The uncharted emotional currents that jolt her limbic system awake. You see, the female brain thrives when provoked, rippling with waves of excitement that only arise when her nervous system perceives variability, challenge, even a touch of danger wrapped in trust. This biological truth exposes the fatal flaw in modern dating dynamics. The men who do everything right, the consistent, the dependable, the endlessly available, are caught in an evolutionary trap. They flood her world with presence but drown the allure of scarcity. They offer clarity but extinguish the spark of the unknown. Their well-meaning kindness becomes a dull drumbeat, predictable and repetitive, worn thin by the biology that governs her heart. True desire demands more than comfort. It demands that your presence be a puzzle she cannot solve, a voice she cannot anticipate, a world she cannot fully possess. It is the magnetic pull toward a man who embodies contradiction, strength wrapped in vulnerability, stability edged with volatility, warmth laced with distance. But how do you cultivate such a complex alchemy? How does one translate seismic biological truths into the dance of real lives? It begins with understanding that absence is as potent as presence. That silence and unpredictability become signals loaded with meaning. Where abundance breeds habituation, scarcity ignites imagination. When she knows you can disappear, not as a threat, but as evidence of a life beyond her, her brain fires in a complex symphony of desire and fear. The biological pulse quickens, the emotional stakes elevate. She senses the preciousness of your attention because it is no longer an endless resource. This is not about playing games or fostering insecurity. It is about embodying your own depth and boundaries, signaling your self-possession in a language her brain instinctively responds to. In a world saturated with instant gratification, where digital connection erodes the texture of longing, this biological impulse becomes even more pronounced. Women's attraction systems resist the monotony of endless availability. They seek instead attention, a dance between approach and retreat that mirrors the ancient rhythms of survival and mating. To be scarce is to be coveted, not by artifice but by authentic life lived apart, fully and unapologetically. When you cultivate your own mystery, you create an internal landscape she is drawn to inhabit. Again and again, you awaken the primal circuits that reward unpredictability with waves of neurochemical pleasure. You become a signal she hunts for in the crowd, a rare frequency tuned to her most instinctual desires. But this path is fraught with paradox and risk. The same scarcity that fuels desire can also ignite fear. The same challenge that hooks her dopamine system can activate her cortisol, the stress hormone that whispers of rejection and abandonment. To navigate this delicate terrain requires an emotional mastery few possess. The courage to be both present and elusive. To invite connection while maintaining independence. To embody warmth without surrendering control. It is a high-stakes equilibrium. A dangerous tightrope walk where one misstep can undo the work of many moments. And yet, it is also the only place where you transcend the sterile scripts of modern dating and step into the realm of authentic, biologically charged attraction. Consider the broader philosophical implications. Attraction, then, is no longer a contest to be won or a puzzle to be solved. It is a living ecosystem, an interplay of forces ancient as life itself. A signal given by a woman is an invitation into this ecosystem, an acceptance of the chaotic dance of biology and emotion. But it is also a warning. To enter, you must be willing to embrace contradiction, to hold tension, to be as complex and shadowed as the impulses you have awakened. The man who shrinks from this complexity will find himself lost in the background noise of the ordinary. The man who embraces it claims a territory few ever see, a land where desire is not a transaction but a profound, evolutionary dance. And so, the question posed to you is not merely how to attract, But how to be the kind of man biology truly craves? How to embody the mystery, the challenge, the subtle dance of presence and absence? How to hold her interest not with desperation but with deliberate, powerful scarcity, knowing that in that scarcity lies the hidden desire that stirs her brain and quickens her heart. The path forward is not paved with easy answers or rehearsed lines but with the quiet confidence of a man who understands the forces that govern attraction. And, more importantly, is unafraid to wield them. Because once you step into this realm, once you acknowledge the invisible code scribed into her biology, the game ceases to be about impressing her. It becomes about recognizing the immutable truth that form and shadow, light and dark, desire and restraint, are eternally entwined, and that your role is to embody both in a way that only a rare few ever dare. Now that you stand at this crossroads, having glimpsed the subtle sign that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, a new horizon emerges, one shadowed with the profound tension of what comes next. This is where the quieter, more dangerous forces of female psychology take hold. The signals you have learned to read do not simply ignite desire, they awaken something older, deeper, and far less forgiving than mere attraction. They summon the primal currents of dependency and detachment, of closeness and distance, of safety and danger, the very impulses that arc silently across the neural pathways in her brain, shaping how she feels about you, how she remembers you, even how she fears losing you. You see, this secret signal isn't a moment frozen in time but a living pulse, a rhythmic wave that ebbs and flows beneath the surface of interaction. Its power lies precisely in its volatility, in its elusive, shifting nature. For the female brain, wired through millennia to adapt and survive, it is not the presence alone that endears, but the dance of presence and absence. The biological fact you must grasp is this: emotional investment in a woman depends on two competing chemical kingdoms, oxytocin, the hormone of bonding and safety, and dopamine, the neurochemical of novelty, surprise, and reward. Too much comfort, too much predictability, floods her with oxytocin but douses dopamine's spark. She feels secure, yes, but her desire wanes. The landscape flattens and dries. Conversely, too much unpredictability or detachment awakens dopamine. But if oxytocin cannot follow, she retreats, afraid of losing the safety she needs. It's a delicate balance, a biological paradox where the greatest challenge is to be both the harbor and the storm. This is the hidden advantage you command when you can not only read the signal but embody it. You harness the biological impulse to arouse conscious and unconscious tension, the kind that sends shivers along the spine, quickens the breath, and unleashes the forbidden thrill of not knowing what comes next. This tension is not manipulation. It's evolution's way of driving her brain's ancient circuits to pay attention, to chase, to remember. When you hold this tension, you become not a man to be owned or possessed, but an enigma to be explored, dangerous, desirable, impossible to predict. You live on the edge of comfort and chaos, and that edge is the knife that cuts deeply into her neural desire. It slices away the superficial reels of modern dating and exposes the raw film of human connection, the contrast between light and shadow, attachment and freedom. Understand this: the modern man who sacrifices this tension in pursuit of safe, steady good behavior unknowingly trades away the primal spark. He dims the signal that makes a woman's pulse race and her mind linger on him long after he leaves the room. His presence becomes white noise because he is always present, always predictable, forever safe. A biological fact of female attraction is that safety is necessary. But safety alone is a fate worse than indifference. It is the silent killer of passion. Her brain's subtle alarm bells do not ring louder as you offer more assurance. Instead, they fall silent, and with that silence comes erosion. The same circuits that reward novelty and elicit desire grow numb, habituated to familiarity, disengaged from meaning. The paradox is that to be someone worth desiring, you must sometimes be destined to disappear, to become elusive, not in absence of honor, but in absence of availability. The female mind is an inconsolable navigator of constant contradiction. It craves connection but fears entrapment. It thrives on certainty but seeks the unpredictable. It requires warmth but yearns for challenge. Your mastery over this set of biological tensions is the brutal truth that separates fleeting dalliance from enduring fascination. Women do not simply want to be needed. They want to be desired by a man whose value they cannot claim but must chase. And desire thrives on scarcity and uncertainty as much as on presence and clarity. Your emotional availability, therefore, becomes a resource to be managed, not hoarded. Too little and she feels neglect. Too much and she feels suffocated. The line is razor thin, and its delineation lies entirely in the unconscious dance of signals, micro-expressions, and timing. A choreography written not in words but in neurochemistry. This is why so many men fail despite their best intentions. They do not realize that attraction is never a guarantee but a fragile biological dance that can collapse under the weight of predictability. It is a game played on the periphery of awareness, where the brain's unconscious rhythms dictate whether she leans in or backs away. And here, hidden beneath the seductive glow of shared moments, lies the truth few dare admit. The man who can inspire genuine fear of loss, not through control or coercion, but through authentic scarcity of presence, is the man who commands the emotional stakes of her mind and heart. This is the unspoken psychology of desire, the knowledge that you are not just an option, but a risk worth taking because losing you would create a void that even her instincts resist filling. In the shadows where hormones collide and instincts rule, you possess a rare power. It is the power to be both center and absence, both challenge and comfort, both the known and the unknowable. This power is born from deep self-awareness and unflinching courage, a willingness to embrace complexity and contradiction within yourself before you can evoke them within her. To wield this secret is to walk a dark path illuminated by flickers of profound truth, where every moment contains the potential to deepen connection or sever it, to inspire worship or indifference. Ask yourself, then, can you hold the silence when she pulls away? Can you tolerate the burning uncertainty when she is near but not fully there? Can you carry the weight of being a signal impossible to fully decode? Because it is in these spaces, the spaces between words and glances, comfort and challenge, presence and absence, where the richest alchemy occurs. That is where desire breathes, where love is tested, where the biological imperatives dance in the shadows, waiting for a man who dares not only to be seen but to be profoundly felt, and ultimately, to be feared for his absence as much as desired for his presence.